Welcome to this explainer. Today, we are unpacking the hidden mechanics and, honestly, the absolute incredible convenience of playing the massive Immortal Realm MMO right in your browser. We're talking about the full classic UO experience here. No launcher, literally zero installation required. It's a total technical marvel. But, it does come with a few unique storage quirks. So we're going to break down exactly what gets cached on your machine, where it's hiding, and how you can safely free up that space whenever you need to.
Here is our roadmap for today. We'll cover the magic of browser gaming, look inside the browser cache, avoid the incognito trap, learn about clearing the cache, and finally figure out when to take action.
Let's jump right into Section 1, the magic of browser gaming.
So here is the absolutely crucial point. The very first time you load up the game, your browser has to download this enormous, invisible backpack of game assets. We're talking hundreds of megabytes of art, sound, animations, and GUMP assets that literally have to land on your system before the world can even fully render. Depending on how far you roam in that first session, this can range anywhere from 500 megabytes to a massive 2 gigabytes. But what's actually kind of brilliant here is that the client only pulls the chunks it really needs. So if you're an explorer uncovering every single corner of the map, your cache is going to be way larger than someone who, say, just hangs out and crafts in a single city all day.
Which brings us to the ultimate question, right? Think about it. You haven't run a setup file. There's no traditional program installation folder sitting on your C drive. So where in the world is your browser hiding all this gorgeous game art, the iconic sound effects, and those fluid animations?
That takes us straight into Section 2, inside the browser cache.
It's incredibly fascinating to see how this workload is sliced up across your browser's architecture. And don't worry, everything is securely locked to the web client's specific origin, so it's not messing with your other websites. At the very bottom, you've got local storage. This handles your tiny preferences, things like your last character pick or where you dragged your windows, and it takes up less than a single megabyte. Right above that is the cache storage. This holds the actual application code, the JavaScript, WASM, and HTML that boot the client. That weighs in around 10 to 50 megabytes. And then there's the absolute giant of the group, IndexedDB.
This really puts things into perspective. Just look at the sheer dominance of IndexedDB. Taking up a whopping 98% of the pie, practically all of your storage space is dedicated purely to rendering the game world itself. It holds all the heavy lifting, the art, the fonts, the CLIC files. This right here is the engine room of your visual experience.
Now, for those of us who aren't web developers, don't let the technical jargon throw you off. IndexedDB is simply the heavy-duty hidden folder your browser uses to stash the actual game files. It ensures that those gigabytes of assets don't have to be painstakingly re-downloaded every single time you want to play. Honestly, it's the secret sauce behind why your second visit to the web client launches in mere seconds instead of minutes.
Moving right along to Section 3, the incognito trap.
If you're a privacy-conscious user, you might naturally try to fire up the game in private or incognito mode. But man, here is the catch. Browsers enforce a really strict, much smaller storage quota on private windows, usually capping out at just a few hundred megabytes. Because the massive Immortal Realm asset bundle needs way more space than that, the download will just flat out fail partway through. The client won't load. And hey, this isn't some arbitrary shard rule, it's a hard limitation of the web client itself. So, always make sure you're using a normal standard browser window when you play.
All right, let's look at Section 4, clearing the cache. Before we actually look at the steps, let me be super clear and emphatically reassure you. Your characters, your hard-earned gear, your entire account state, all of that lives safely on the shard server. You are only deleting local temporary copies of the game's art and sound files. Deleting this local cache will literally never ever wipe your progress. The absolute worst thing that happens is you just force a fresh download the next time you visit.
Okay, let's get into the nitty-gritty. For users on Chromium-based browsers like Edge, Chrome, and Brave, wiping the data is incredibly fast. You just pop open the Game tab, hit F12 to bring up your developer tools, navigate over to the Application tab, and right there in the storage panel, hit Clear Site Data. Boom! One click, and it wipes the IndexedDB, cache storage, and local storage completely clean.
Now, if you're on Firefox or using Safari on a Mac, it's somehow even simpler. You can skip the developer menus entirely. On Firefox, just click that little shield or lock icon right up in your address bar and click Clear Cookies and Site Data. For Safari users, dive straight into your system settings, hit Privacy, click Manage Website Data, search for the classic UO entry, and just remove it.
Fast, clean, and totally effective.
And hey, for the mobile gamers out there playing directly from a phone browser, which is just amazing in itself, by the way, the process is just as a breeze. On Android Chrome, tap your menu, head to Site Settings, and hit Clear and Reset. On iOS, just go to your main phone settings, scroll down to Safari, tab Advanced, then Website Data, and simply swipe away that cache.
For our power users on Windows who want absolute, granular control, you can actually use Windows Explorer to navigate directly to these specific app data paths. You can manually delete the physical folders representing the asset cache. The file size you see in there, that's the actual physical storage cost on your hard drive. But keep this golden rule in mind, you absolutely must close your browser completely before you delete these folders. If you don't, the browser will just immediately rewrite the files the second you launch it again.
Finally, we arrive at Section 5. When to take action.
Listen, you really don't need to clear your cache as part of your routine maintenance. You should only take action if you desperately need to free up tight disk space and this cache happens to be the biggest offender. Secondly, you should absolutely clear it if you're dealing with a misbehaving web client. Think repeated load errors at the exact same spot, missing art, or sounds that just flat out refuse to play. That usually means you've got a botched download, and clearing it forces a fresh, clean pull. And lastly, go ahead and clear it if you are migrating to a brand new machine or switching your primary browser and just want a totally clean slate.
If you aren't facing those 3 specific scenarios, my absolute biggest piece of advice is to just leave it alone. Your browser's internal storage manager is incredibly smart. It handles eviction itself if disk space gets dangerously tight anyway. This cache is your best friend here. It is literally the sole reason why your 2nd, 3rd, and 100th web client launches feel absolutely instant. So, with the mystery of the invisible backpack completely solved, knowing exactly how your browser handles these massive files, and with the ultimate reassurance that your characters are completely safe on the server, my question to you is this. Now that you hold the keys to instant access, are you ready to open a tab and step right back into the Immortal Realm?